Hi, in this video I'm going to talk about how to find winners in handicaps. Now obviously, as we all know, handicaps can be pretty difficult races to solve, but hopefully over the next few minutes I'm going to show you a way of narrowing down the field and looking for possible winners of handicaps, usually at good prices. So first off, I'm going to go back to the racing on the 5th of August 2020. Now, I gave three selections, four selections actually, on the day. Racing was abandoned later on at air, so obviously one of the selections didn't get a chance to run, but the three others did. Now, I'm going to show you my reasoning for picking those horses. And then I shall move on to a live demonstration for the 6th of August 2020 before racing starts, so you get an idea of how I go about it. So the first selection I gave was in the 310 at air. The name of the horse was Equiday, so I shall click on that form. And the reason why I went for Equiday is two reasons. First off, it was reasonably well handicapped. Now, as in another video I did about prep runs, being well handicapped is a decent angle into being a winner of a handicap for obvious reasons. Now, when you look at a race, you will tend to see a lot of the ones to the fore of the market tend to be ones with the better form, i.e. first, second, third. But to win handicaps, it's very difficult when you've been raised for a win or a second place or even third. Or even, sometimes handicaps will raise horses even if they fail to complete, if they fell at the last, say, 10 lengths clear over a jumps race. So this is, to me, has never been an ideal scenario for finding winners in handicaps. For the very nature is that, obviously, if you've got more weight than you ran last time, then, you're going to face a more difficult task. And the other angle to handicaps is race distance. Now, race distances can be manipulated by trainers. I mean, Sir Mark Prescott is the prime example, who will run horses over far too short distance as 2-year-olds, early 3-year-olds, and then gradually step them up in distance to a more appropriate thing for their breeding. He does nothing wrong. He's done it for donkey's years, but this shows you how trainers need to approach handicaps. So let's get back to Equiday. Now, Equiday finished 14 lengths in 9th last time at Hamilton. It was over 1.5 mile furlongs. But if you look back at Equiday's record, a lot of his running and winning was done on the all-weather. He last won off a mark of 56 at Southall over 7 furlongs. So yesterday's race was over 7 furlongs. It was on heavy ground, which is, deep ground, same as Southall. So for me, that sort of highlighted off that same mark as that win there, and dropping back in distance from last time. So it was beaten out of sight last time. It's running over a different distance today than it did last time. So that said to me that the horse was well handicapped. It was running over its right distance, and the chances are that it had got a fair good run in it, which it did. It led. It looked like it was going to win at one point, and just sort of petered out towards the last 50 yards. So if you'd have done it each way, you wouldn't have lost much money. And it was a good indicator of how a horse can run with poor figures in the form lines. So the next horse I tipped was Joe's Way. Now, Joe's Way had only run 3 times. It had yet to hit the frame. So obviously it was an unexposed type. Now these are again the type of horses that tend to run well in handicaps. It hadn't shown its hand. Again, it ran over 5 furlongs last time out, so it's a different distance today of 7 furlongs. There's no indication it wanted heavy ground, but again, with an unexposed type, you would think that trainers, wouldn't be running horses that young on ground they wouldn't like. So I tipped this horse as an unexposed type, off a mark that the handicappers just basically guessed at through 3 unplaced runs. It's run over a totally different distance last time, which is a good indicator that maybe the horse is primed to run well today, and it did. It led more or less all the way. It drifted out in the betting. I think it touched about 9-1 at one point, and was returned at 17-2, which is a good return. So that was a nice winner for my value back in service. The third and final tip I gave was in the last at Lingfield, and that was September Power. Now again, similar to the last horse I mentioned, it was an exposed type. It had got a mark of in the early 60s, which is very exploitable if you've got a well handicapped horse for a trainer. It had run over 1.2 miles last time, staying on, as we can see, ran on inside final furlong, nearest finish. So that was a good indicator that this step up to 1.4 miles would be ideal. Again, it got no form for it finishing in the first 3. So, again, it was a decent price of 8-1. When tipping on the all-weather, I must mention, I do like to see a run on an all-weather surface. It's just a personal preference. Sometimes, it doesn't really matter if the horse is that well handicapped, but I tend to like for it to have experience of an all-weather surface. Doesn't necessarily have to be the course that it's running at today, but if some all-weather experience is preferable. And again, that run at Wolverhampton, it never threatened, but it showed that it acted on an all-weather surface. So they are the 3 selections I gave yesterday, 2 of which won at decent prices. So we shall go on to today's cards, and we shall go to Bath. Now let's look at a handicap 5 furlongs at Bath. Now I don't like to back horses in sprint races. Simple fact is that there can be a bit of a mad dash. There can be more or less influenced by draw bias more than other races. So 5-6 furlong races I don't tend to look at. Sometimes obviously on my ITV service, when I'm forced to tip in a race 5 furlongs, then obviously I have to, but if I can avoid them in the day-to-day stuff, I will. So we'll go to 340 again. That's 5 furlong race, so we're not going to be looking at that. Now the 410 is one I've given a tip out today in. As you can see, the favourite is the Mark Johnston train runner. He finished second last time, so this is a prime example of a bookies will just price it up because it's got a good form figure into its last name. They will just stick it in at the head of the market or near to the head of the market. So I'm not interested in that. But the next one down is particularly interesting. It's Gary Moore, Silver Cliffs. Again, as the 2 winners yesterday, it's an unexposed type. It's only had 3 runs. It started off a mark of 66. It's dropped down to 64. Now, last time out it ran over 7 furlongs. It's run over a mile today, so it's a different trip as well. And it stayed on. not placed a challenge, but stayed on again, 7 furlongs. It's ran over 8 furlongs first time up at 8-1 pretty well. So you don't have to be a rocket scientist to work out that that has got a good chance in this handicap. There are others down there again. Blinkers first time is something that I don't like to see headgear first time on anything, so I'll avoid those. But it finished 4th last time out. Again, it's another unexposed type, but those blinkers will put me off. Alfie's Watch is ran over 7 furlongs last time. It's not exposed by any means because it's only had a few runs, but it doesn't have an appealing profile as Silver Cliffs to me. So I've tipped Silver Cliffs today, and it's 9-2, which you could go each way, 3 places. You wouldn't lose much if it just plays. So that's a good bet to me. So the next race I'm going to look at is the 350 at Ripon. I gave this selection out on Twitter this morning as well, so everyone can see that. Now, obviously, the 350, it's a 1 mile 4 handicap. The favourite is St Gallen, who won last time, and obviously it's one that the bookies want you to back again, having won the last race. The second favourite is Competition. Again, this won the time before last. It's pretty exposed, it's an 8-year-old as well. Not that well handicapped either. It was running off 54, it's now running off 61 after that win. My selection for this race is Boleyn Joan. As I said, this has gone out to my value backing subscribers, and I also posted it for free as a tip on Twitter this morning. Now, the reason why I've gone for Boleyn Joan is pretty self-explanatory. It's well handicapped in a sense of the sort of competition it's been running against. Now, what I mean by that is the last time it ran was in a Class 3 at York, which it's a far better standard of race than this Class 5 at Ripon. The form, obviously, if you look at it on face value, 5th beaten 10.5 lengths, 10th beaten 7.25 lengths. But if you look deeper into that form there, you'll see that it's not run in a Class 5 handicap for a long while. If we go back to when it did last time, it bombed out again. Class 5 there at Redcar. But, it ran well in a Class 5 before, it's won a Class 4, won a Class 5. So, it's been in there or thereabouts in that sort of grade. So this Class 5 is its type of race, that it can do well at, because it has done before. Now, if you look, it did win a Class 2 back in September last year for a mark of 71. You look at the rest of them, and nothing, comes within a mile of performing that well in that sort of grade. So, to me, this is overpriced at 5-1, 6-1. You can obviously get drawn into the fact that it's got 2 duck egg there and a 5th there, so you might ignore that. But for me, that is a handicap that a horse can be shown to a better light in this sort of grade. So that's my selection for this contest. Just to recap on my selection process for this, it's running in a grade it's not running for a long time. Actually won a grade 2. It ran well in a better race at York. Last time out, it's run over 2 furlongs more this time, which is obviously the distance it won at, and that grade 2 at Catterick. So we shall see how that performs today. My name's Nicholson, and I hope you found this video very useful and educational, and I hope it's something that you can refer back to time and time again. If you want any free tips or want to join my service, you can do at valuebacking.com, or you can follow me on Twitter for free tips at valuebacking.